Miho is back in arena, so let's check out how she fares.
7k dreamer please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be looking at Miho. Miho just got revamped and here is my screen full of Mihos. Basically, I've given her double speed, double HP. For her accessory, I've given her Isabella's Evil Eye with Guardian Ring of course. For her jewels, I've given her Increased Awakening Gauge, Speed and Lethal. Increased Awakening Gauge is slightly tricky because if you have her in the front line, her Awakening Gauge can be reduced and this will help her get her Awakening skill up quickly. And her Awakening skill is very strong because it has critical hit, it has exploit vulnerability, it has penetration. And also, if you have unlocked her exclusive item, she'll actually get a priority effect to remove debuff from all allies. And this comes in very handy when enemy Dylan's has already casted isolation on you, so she can actually help to remove that. Which also means that her awaken skill will definitely do damage. So that is the point of having priority effect on removal of debuff. In this video, we'll be testing two types of formation, one with her in the front line, one with her in the back line. So do stay tuned for that. And for her soul skills, I've given her these soul skills, 5 target, skill cooldown, as well as increased damage down on offensive. And for her special traits, I've given her 3 resistances. I think this is the most basic for now until further testing is required and maybe see how other players are experimenting with her. But for now, I think giving her these 3 resistances are safe. Okay, so without further ado, we'll be proceeding with this formation whereby Miho is actually in the front line and Dylan is solo backline. Note that her passive actually gives the back row complete immunity to Awakening Gauge decrease. Okay, so this means that the Dylan that is on the back line will not face any sort of obstacles in getting his Awakening Gauge up. So if you have the increased Awakening Gauge duo on Dylan and he uses a skill, I think your Dylan is going to get his Awakening skill up very quickly, like for mine right now. Okay, and we are facing a battery. So again, when Miho lands on the battlefield, she incapacitates all the enemies. Okay, this means that enemy battery, enemy Rin, any berserk hero or whatsoever are not going to live on 1 HP. And so much for being Rin's arc enemy, she really is trying to counter Rin again. Basically, this incapacitation already makes Rin die quickly because Rin won't get to live on 1 HP, right? So as you can see, my Shout of Despair came up pretty quickly and it does a lot of damage and kills off the battery. So one thing is that her incapacitation actually only lasts when she is on the field. When she is killed, this actually doesn't stay on the field. So Rin can still be surviving on 1 HP if your Miho dies earlier than expected. So moving on to the second match. First match was pretty okay. It's nice to see Miho putting in work. I mean, prior to this recording, there were a lot of losses. But I finally settled down with this lineup. I think somehow Alim helps my team. When I removed Alim, I didn't get a lot of good wins. So over here again, same thing, my Dylan transforms really early and that is a very good thing. Basically, once your Dylan transforms early, it's gonna help you a lot. Miho has exploit vulnerability on her skill as well, so she'll definitely be able to hit some enemies that evade. So now that the enemy Dylan has awakened, I have incapacitation on my team. And if my Miho doesn't die here, I think I'll be able to cleanse it. And that is totally the purpose of having Shout of Despair come at this perfect timing. Okay, but it's very hard for you to control this timing because ultimately you just really never know when your Awakening Gauge is going to get reduced or not. So that is why I want to test her in the backline after this. On to the third match. Currently, Miho's random formation effect is on her normal skill and she's able to keep doing it. And I think this actually counters other Mihos, right? Because if she were to scramble the enemy team, then the enemy Miho will protect whoever's on the backline, and in that case, if your formation gets, shuffled, then Dylan's may not be the one at the back and he may not get protected. So there is a risk in that, and maybe in time to come we may see heroes like Da Qiao come back. Da Qiao provides complete immunity to formation and position changes, so who knows, things may change, the meta may change. But so far, as you can see, once my Dylan's transforms and hopefully when he uses his skill, it is pretty much a guaranteed win. So that's the point of having Miho on the team right now. It is really to support Dylan's in a way. Okay, and for this fourth match, it's going to be something special. We are going to face a tank team. So I think the tank team right now is very popular. A lot of the top players are using the tank team with Dylan's. So we have Karma, Jave, Nerja, and Rudy. So do note that I have no reflect immunity on my team, so it is quite scary because Nerja has reflect. But crit attacks still hit really hard on the enemy team, especially when I have Dylan's in the backline. So now that Dylan's has transformed, it is gonna be very painful, as you will see very soon. Yep, it's still very painful, and I don't think tank teams... Did you see that reflect? I don't think tank teams are able to take so much damage at this point in time still. Okay, until maybe, I don't know, Myth Awaken Evans or Wukong comes in. But so far, if everyone is gonna go into this formation with Dylan's in the backline, because I think previously Yonhee was in the backline and the tank teams came back. But with Dylan's in the backline, I am not too sure how that will go because it is really very painful. Even Miho on the front line with her Awaken skill can kill off a Rudy. So that shows you how much power Miho has. And yep, this is another win. So moving on, we are going to look at another formation. It will be the 2-3 formation. Miho will join Dylan's in the back. In this formation, the attack bonus your backline has is only 40%, not 100%, so it is quite a major reduction, but we'll see how this goes. And I want to talk about the Cult and Aleems running around in Arena right now. Okay, they are level 40 plus 5, they have no armor, no accessory, no jewel kind of thing. I think it benefits in two ways. Firstly, the passive is bugged. Okay, the passive still stays on the field even though they die, and I have no idea why. So for Cult, her recovery rate reduction by 80% will stick on even after she dies, and for Aleem, his counter rate reduced for offensive enemies by 70% will also stay on after he dies. Okay, so in this case, enemy Dylan's is transformed, so he plants all the isolation on my team, and then my Dylan's transforms. But he is isolated, so that's good. Very good. It's always better if your Dylan's is the second one to go. And then Miho here, she clears it up. Okay, she has her priority effect to remove debuff. So that is why this came in very handy. This is very timely. This is like a perfect example of what I wanted to say. And over here it is quite scary because Dylan is, I think, left all alone. So we have no idea how many hits he's gonna do, but thankfully I think both his skills are used. So I went in and whacked him all the way. Thankfully, I think he has evasion as well, and thankfully my Rin managed to land the hit. Otherwise, it's gonna be very disastrous. So in the second match, we are facing the same team actually. In this formation, basically you will see that Miho's awaken skill doesn't get reduced as well. So the point I wanted to make with regards to the awakening gauge duel is that in this case, she will charge up her awakening gauge really quickly if she uses her skill. Okay, so in the event that your enemy Dylan hasn't transformed and hasn't landed the isolation, and that may be a waste of her awaken skill. But in this case, my enemy Dylan's transformed really early and is killing my frontline. He died first. Surprise. So here I'm really hoping that Miho will actually use her skill to cleanse the isolation. But I think it doesn't matter anymore because all that's left is Rin. Dylan's is not going to be isolated. Miho will clear up the isolation herself, and when she uses her awaken skill next, she will definitely be able to strike. So I think at this point it doesn't matter. And even with awakening gauge increased duel, you can see that it wasn't very early. It was used at a pretty late stage. So I was very scared for this round. I mean, look at my Dylans. And I was like, oh crap, 1 HP, am I really living on 1 HP? And thankfully my Dylan still had his skill and killed off the Dylans. This was a crazy run, this was really a crazy match. After this, we are looking at the tank team again. So the difference here is that my Dylans no longer has his 100% attack increase. So you will see how much difference that will make. Okay, whether it is still possible to kill the tank team like that. And as I said, because my Alim has no shields, no immunity, so this actually draws in the enemy Dylans to attack him with the single target. Another reason for this is because enemy Dylans probably may have very high lethal, okay, since he's the defensive leader. And in that case, heroes with very high lethal will always target the weakest hero on the enemy team. Alim is definitely a bait. Sacrifice and a bait. So that's the point of all these low level heroes right now. And honestly, if you meet a tank team, I think the awakening gauge decrease doesn't really matter because only Karma can do that, compared to a speed team where they have so many heroes that can reduce awakening gauge.
I will find you in my dreams and kill you.
The Grim Reaper emerges.
Annoying.
I will break the boundary of the abyss and become.
So unfortunately, my Dylans transformed earlier than his Dylans. So that means that his Dylans is cleared of isolation, but mine is not. But thankfully, my Draconic Ravage came in and it managed to clear off all the debuffs on my team, which is very timely. And over on his side, his Rudy helped to clear his, so okay, all's fair. And then now we are trying to kill off the tank team, but they're still living on half HP, I think, for Rudy. And this is where the game changing moment happens. So I get stunned, and I don't have stun resist on my team. So you may want to look at putting on some stun resist for your important heroes. For mine, I think Silence, Electrify and Paralyze are more important, so I didn't give stun resist, but here we are without stun resist.
Is this how
Yep, so that was the final match of this video. Hopefully you enjoyed all the matches for Miho and got a better idea of how she works and how to equip her and how you should place her, which is very important. Okay, so if this video helped you, do give it a like and do subscribe to my channel, and I'll be back with another video later which is regarding the check-in event. Okay, so do stay tuned. Thank you so much and see you!